Hi guys, this is Ronnie with Everything Vive, and I wanted to just do a quick episode on my own. I'm just recording here, kind of quick and dirty on my iPhone, because I wanted to get something out. I've been kind of busy traveling back and forth, and Zane has been kind of doing the same thing, so unfortunately we haven't had a chance to get together and record, but I have had a chance to play quite a few things, and I at least wanted to talk about some of that and get an episode recorded. So as far as things that I've been playing right now, I've been playing quite a bit of Electronauts, kind of just been messing around with that, really been having a ton of fun with, the awesome song list that they provided in the final product, as well as just some of the cool things that you're able to do. I've been playing it with my brother and some others, just kind of showing off, something fun and quick in VR, and that's definitely been great. Another game that I've been playing like that has been Island Time, and I know that came out, a couple of months ago now, and I had a chance to play it, I think back at GDC is when I had first tried it before it actually released. But that game's been actually a ton of fun as far as just showing people what VR is all about, and being able to kind of quickly have kind of, a bunch of manic, crazy fun just in about 10 minutes or so. That's usually, it seems like, how long I usually tend to last, and how long a lot of other people tend to last. So, around, 10 to 15 minutes or so, give or take, and everybody has a fun time both playing and watching it. So that's been great. If anybody, kind of has an interest in kind of a fun, casual party type game that is, entertaining to play and to watch, that's definitely one to kind of look out for. And another game that I had a chance to kind of mess with a little bit was Hellblade. All of these games I believe I've done a little bit of live streaming on, and I've been trying to get that going. Hellblade was a game that I recently tried in VR, and unfortunately I think that I'm starting to realize that my computer needs to be upgraded. My CPU, the 3770K that I use, is starting to kind of show a little bit of age, and checking to see what the latency looks like in the Steam VR settings seems to indicate that I am kind of suffering a little bit as far as latency is concerned, and that does make certain types of games a little bit more difficult to play, Hellblade being one of them. And when you add streaming on top of that, it's just too hard for my system. So I'm gonna be looking to possibly upgrade once these new Intel CPUs come out. I want to at least check those out, the 9900K and those other newer processors that seem to be the Coffee Lake refresh that's on the horizon. I'm interested in that. But yeah, besides those games, the main one that I wanted to focus on for today's episode is Pixel Ripped 1989. And that's a game that I've definitely had a chance to look at in the past. I got a chance to play it at GDC again, an early build, and actually met Ana Ribiera, who's been the developer on that project, I think, since before she was really associated with any studio. And then Arvoir is the name of the studio in South America that actually eventually released the game. So she, obviously partnered up with them. They were able to help her get what she needed to finish it up, and really the final product is something that is really unique and something that I think people should check out. So, for those people that don't know anything about Pixel Rip 1989, it's basically it's hard to explain, I think, and do it justice really in words without actually seeing it, but you're essentially playing like a 2D Game Boy Advance or Game Boy-like game on a handheld system in the VR world that you're in the game. So it's literally a little girl that is playing games, but then kind of mixing her play from the handheld into the real world. So that game that you play on the handheld kind of finds ways of getting out of that handheld and affects the world around you. And this is all in VR. So if you can imagine you're playing the platformer and, on this handheld while you're in class, and then as you get further along in the game, enemies from those games actually come out of the handheld system and start affecting the real world around you, and eventually that actually leads to you, having to combat, different parts of the game in the real world. And I don't want to give away like the specifics on what the mechanics are like, because each level, there's I believe 4 levels in the game, and each one is quite a bit different. So like the classroom is the first level, and I'll just mention that. I mean, while you're playing the platformer, you're also trying to make sure that the teacher doesn't basically catch you playing too often. And so you're able to use distractions in the room as ways to kind of keep those people off of you while you're trying to get through that map. And eventually, the final boss kind of section of that level, you play as a mix between the handheld system and then the real world kind of merging together. And some of the later levels are quite a bit different than that, but they all kind of vary. They use that same kind of idea, and it's because of that, the mix between the real world and the game world that you're playing on your handheld system. It's kind of, the artwork in this game is a mix between pixel art and 3D art, and likewise the gameplay itself is a mix between 2D gameplay while you're actually playing on the handheld. Kind of some certain 2.5D, if you will, platforming elements once some of that starts to merge with the real world. And then there's also just straight up VR mechanics where you're utilizing, your controllers in weird and interesting ways. And it's interesting because it really legitimately feels like you're holding a handheld within the game. So that handheld, just like, thinking about it now, it doesn't even feel like you have motion controllers in your hands while you're playing the game. It almost feels like you are holding a handheld device, and you're using that device as a mechanic within the game. So that's a really cool feeling, honestly. Like you kind of forget that you're not holding that handheld system after a while once you're in the game. And just all around, the styling and the theming on this game is just incredible. It just does a really solid job of kind of melding that pixel art into the live 3D art around you. And I'd almost compare it to games like Duck Season or something like that, but honestly I think that this does an even more interesting job of kind of melding the styles together, because it doesn't feel like it's just pure nostalgia. It feels like you're seeing these things. You're seeing this pixel art and this game art from, classic, like, NES and Super NES style kind of games, like, brought to life in a way that you really haven't seen before. So, and the storytelling does a good job of kind of connecting you from one part to the next. So, I mean, if there's anything that, like, one of the coolest things of this game, I think, is the fact that from the moment you start it up until the moment you put it down, there's just this seamless kind of, transition from one part to the next, to the next, to the next. And there's no jarring loading screens or anything like that. Like, everything feels like it has a very consistent, theming and nature to it, and there's just no drop off. You're immersed from beginning to end, as far as I'm concerned, when you're in the game. So, I mean, the only things that, like, I noticed that were not, like, perfect in my opinion. I mean, some of the platforming, and I'm not the best platform gamer, but some of the platforming was a little frustrating rather than fun. Like, trying to, the mechanics and how you actually run and jump aren't, quite as polished as, like, a Mario game, for example. So sometimes they would ask me to do, I would feel like I was dying because the game wasn't reacting to me as well as I wanted to, or the design was poor, rather than, feeling like it was actually a fair death in the 2D game. But it's, like I said, like, you play it a few times and you get over it, and then all of the kind of fun, unexpected turns in the gameplay relating to, relating to the surprises in VR were more than made up for any of those moments where I was frustrated with the controls or anything like that. So I wouldn't say it's like a major fault, but just, to put it out there, the 2D platforming could be a little better. It could be a little bit more interesting. But that said, it does a great job of feeling like it's a platformer within VR. I mean, it's you definitely. I mean, if anything, this just makes me, as someone that hasn't really tried emulation, or like, I know retro arcade exists in VR, but it just, man, how cool would it be to just be able to play all kinds of like handheld Game Boy Advance, just old Game Boy games and whatnot, like on a handheld in VR. Like it feels very convincing. And so, that's just one knock, is that they did such a great job of making it feel like you're playing a platformer inside of, on a handheld in this VR game, that you kind of wish you could play really, really awesome, great VR 2D titles like on a handheld while you're playing. So, like, minor complaint, honestly. Like, just from beginning to end, it's surprising, it's fun, and it's just really impressive what they were able to pull off here. And you can tell that the game is crafted with a ton of love. It's on Steam right now for about $25, $24.99. And honestly, I mean, if you're just judging it based on how much time you're going to get out of it, sure, you're not going to, I'd say it, each of the 4 levels takes you, quite a bit less than an hour. I would 2 to 4 hours, like, tops, is probably what you're honestly gonna play. But as far as just having this game to experience what's possible in VR, to see a unique vision, executed very, very well in VR, and then also to have something cool to show people, I think for all those reasons, it's more than worth the $25. So if you're someone that, is super picky about the amount of time per dollar that you're going to get out of a game, maybe this isn't quite for you. But if you're, just a VR fan in general, which I think most people that have these headsets now are, that's just really interested in promoting the platform and just trying things that are well executed and well done, then this is a game I think that everybody should have in their library. It's different than anything else you're going to play. It's done incredibly well, and again, it shows you when someone's super creative and has a unique vision, the kind of things that you can do in VR is just unlike anything you can do on any platform today. So that's Pixel Rip 1989. Great game. Been having a ton of fun with it, and I just wanted to get some of my impressions out there as soon as I could, just to kind of drop you guys at least a short episode here. So we have definitely a lot more content that's coming. We have interviews and reviews of different games and products that we are looking forward to sharing, as well as kind of some other projects that we've done, focusing on more specific topics that we're excited to share with you guys. Also, like I mentioned before, I'm really trying to do the live stream thing, and I'm going to continue to try to push that. Right now my major factor has been just finding the time that's quiet when I'm playing VR to actually be able to record, and then also just making sure that my computer is compliant throughout that process. And if that means that I have to upgrade in the near future, then we'll kind of see how that goes. Hopefully I can do that sooner rather than later, and then be able to just, put as much content out as possible. But we're definitely super excited about, some of the things that we're looking forward to doing in the future. And as always, we really appreciate, all of the community support, and appreciate the listening. So hope that was great as far as covering Pixel Ripped is concerned, and look forward to sharing more thoughts on other games, news, everything else Vive with you in the near future. Take care and have a good one.